This over here. So I'm Toastmaster Sarath, the Saturday terms for today, and really warmly welcome all of you for this wonderful session for mentor mentee. So before we begin, let's start with our mission statement. So the district mission statement for the mission statement for District 98 is: we build new clubs and support all the clubs which are in District 98 in achieving excellence. So now, as we are here for a session which is especially for mentors and mentees, so it is a discussion. So it's a panel discussion where we will exchange some views about how we mentor, like how is mentoring done in Toastmasters and how mentees, I suppose, what's the mentees role in it. So that it is, I'm sure it's a very insightful session, and for that we have our moderator. Our moderator is distinguished Toastmaster Sravanthi. Sravanthi joined Toastmasters in 2013 to practice speaking purposefully and succinctly, but stayed for the enormous value and incredible friendships it continues to add to her life. An award-winning distinguished Toastmaster, she is a member of 6 President Distinguished Clubs, both community and corporate. Sravanthi has served all club officer roles multiple times and as area director, division director, program quality director, and district director. As the club sponsor, mentor, coach, youth leadership program, and speechcraft coordinator, a pathways guide, and member of club retention and corporate club support committees, she continues to invest in furthering our club and district mission. She has completed all 11 paths and is inspired for what's next. A lifelong learner, she is a keynote speaker, workshop facilitator, and panelist within and outside Toastmasters, who brings her strength and interpersonal excellence-based leadership approach to everything she does. She's honored to have been invited to 2024 Centennial celebration last August to present a toast talk on member engagement, growth, and retention. She has found clarity, connection, and confidence with Toastmasters. Wherever she goes as a Toastmaster. She lives in Aurora, USA with her husband, waiting for the seasons when her daughters fly back home from their pursuit. Sravanthi's belief in mentoring has grown over the years, and she has been and experienced the extraordinary impact it has on all who partake in it. Today, she is excited to help us engage in learning more about mentoring and how we can all see hope inside ourselves within and beyond Toastmasters. So please help welcome with a big round of applause, Toastmaster Sravanthi. Distinguished Toastmaster Sravanthi.
One day again.
There you go. I wasn't able to unmute. Okay. Greetings, everyone. How are you? Say something. Light up the chat. If you're not able to, I think your audio may have been. Show some love, react, thumbs ups. I'll take thumbs ups. I like to take hearts. I'll take shooting rockets, fireworks. I'll take anything you can give me. How are you? Excellent, excellent. I see some hearts popping up. I love it. Can't unmute. I see that, Shalini. Hopefully our admins will take care of that in just a little bit. I am truly, truly honored to be with all of you. I see some familiar faces. I look forward to making more friends just through this session. And I especially want us to think about the last statement that Toastmaster Sanath shared with all of us. mentoring. You and I stand on the shoulders of giants. It is only because of folks who believed in us, who saw something beyond what was visible, what was palpable, or what was obvious. That is where our journey belongs. Because someone believed in us, someone thought we were capable of a little more, and we ourselves gave freely into that relationship. So I want to ask you, how many of you have ever had a mentor in your life? Within or outside Toastmasters, right? I raise my hand really high because I've had many mentors in the past and I continue to rely. And in doing so over the years, how many of you have thought about mentoring yourself, being a mentor to someone else, whether it was small or in big ways? How many of you have thought about it? All right. I would love for us to keep this top of mind. I am going to put something in the chat. And this will be a session where you and I will engage. We will talk a lot. How many of us love PowerPoint presentations? Oh, well, see, I see nods. I have plenty of PowerPoint presentations, but I would like to share maybe a slide or two, time permitting or as need arises. But let's have a conversation. If you are ready for conversation, if you have ever heard me before, this is what I love and enjoy because that brings out a variety of perspectives. That's really what we are going to do here. So Santosh told me as we were preparing that I have about 20 minutes. So if we have a timer and they could keep their virtual hand raised, I can see them. Do we have a timer for the session? Or
Yeah,
I can turn. Okay, I can time myself too. Sanat, thank you. If you can show me green right around 15 to 16 minutes, that would be awesome. And then yellow at 17 and red at 20.
I can put in the chat.
You can put in the chat. That'll work too. And I have started my time myself. And what I'm going to do is engage with all of you, share some of my experiences, learn from each and every one of you before we move into our panel discussion. Yes, I have 5 amazing panelists I can't wait to bring in front of you. But first and foremost, I put something in the chat. I say, and I believe, and I know this is not something new that you are hearing from me. Our intentions often drive our behaviors. Does that resonate with you? Right? We talk about intentionality. Intention is probably the most overused word these past, especially through the pandemic. This has become a crutch word for many of us. But I want you to take 10 seconds to think about it, not just as a word, but truly close your eyes and let the word sink in. What does that mean to you? What does intentionality mean to you? And I ask this for a reason, because we have a little bit of an exercise we are going to write out our intention. What does intentionality mean to you? What does intention mean to you? I don't know if you're able to unmute, but please unmute yourselves if you're able. If not, let's light up the chat. What does it mean to you? Don't be shy.
Purpose-driven actions.
Purpose-driven actions. Okay, excellent. Purpose-driven actions. What else? We all know what it is, you see? We haven't spent time thinking about it. We all know the word. Okay, let's go. Some kind of goal. Okay, great. Some kind of goal. That's intention. Intention to achieve that goal, right? Not just have that goal, but make that intent. Taan leni chahiye hame, right? Deep down, we are saying that I'm going to achieve it. I'm going to do something about it. Doing purposefully, right? Doing something purposefully. Thank you. Keep going. Nagita, thank you. Shalini, creating impact, right? That's the end outcome. If you're coming in from the left with intention, our hope is that we are creating impact on the right? Whether it is for ourselves, whether it is at home, community, workplace, we are going to create impact, or at least that's our hope. Willingness to do something. It's a commitment. That's intention. That means you're going to wake up and say, I am going to be intentional. I know what I'm headed towards. My goals are clearly defined, and I'm going to go forward with intention. That means with that clarity, I'm going to show commitment so I can get to that next step. Now, here is another exercise for each of us. Now, I know this is about mentoring, But I believe that much of what we do, whether we are seeking mentors or whether we are being mentors ourselves, the clarity, the commitment, the creation of impact is central to all of this. So I want to know what you came looking for today and how you might celebrate that intentionality. So if you wouldn't mind, and thank you for more responses, clarity on how final destination looks or sounds like. I love that, right? It might sound amazing, but unless we go through the journey, we never know how it might look like. We have to experience it ourselves. And Dr. Bhuvan says direction towards the goal. And here is an exercise for all of us. I want you to utilize this. If you could even save it. If you're willing to share during this session, that's great. If not, save it for yourself, because that's what intentionality is, right? I want us to say, as someone who wishes, we all have wishes, correct? As someone who wishes blank, I am going to do dash in order to achieve dash, right? Fill it out. I am driven by blank and committed to blank. And finally, this is evident in the way I blank, my next step is blank. As you think about this, you're intentionally committing, right? Whether it is to complete a project, whether it is to step outside your comfort zone, whether it is to be a mentor or be a mentee, set goals, or whatever it is that you are intending towards. This will give you an affirmation. So think about this affirmation, write it down, save it out, and look at it every day and fill in the blanks. And it will change over time. One thing I have learned is that it will change over time, right? Our intentions will change, our goals will change, but our steadfastness towards those goals will remain. That's what intentionality means, that you have the gumption, you're showing grit, and you're going in with gratitude and knowing that you're headed towards something that you really want. Okay. All right. Thank you, Sanat. Thank you for that. Now, any thoughts? Any thoughts on this affirmation, on this statement? Anyone? Have you done something like this? Have you written affirmations before? Does this make you uncomfortable? Somewhat, right? But that's okay. That's okay. The first thing we learn in Toastmasters is that to get out of our comfort zone, we have to take that first step. And a lot of times, whether it is formally or informally, mentors help us do that, right? The first time I joined Toastmasters several years ago, I did not have a formal mentor. I literally took in all the other 19 people in my club when we formed my home club to be my mentors. I did not even know the concept of mentorship existed within Toastmasters. Slowly, I learned that they were mentoring me even unasked. Then I sought people out who I thought knew a little more than me, could hold my hand, could walk me through a project. And my first glimpse into mentorship came when the oldest member in my charter club said, Sravanthi, I want you to be my mentor. I want to be young. I want to achieve. And she said, I want you to be my mentor. I said, Barb, me? And she said, yes. That's how I learned about mentorship, by being a mentor by chance. And today I have plenty of mentors in and outside of Toastmasters. So I want you to think about it. How many of you are already in District 98 or beyond serving as a mentor to someone? Show of hands, please. That would be great if you could let us know. Yeah. Virtual hands will do also. Thank you. I see some of you are already. And in today's session, we'll talk about both. We'll talk about mentors and we'll talk about mentees. We'll talk about the value they are co-creating. They're creating together. How many of you grew up thinking that mentorship is unidirectional, that the mentee receives from the mentor? I know I did, right? Yes. I always thought growing up that when I sought mentorship, it was to receive. I didn't think that when I gave into that relationship, the mentor learns too. It wasn't until much later in my life that I realized that there was value for both the mentor and the mentee. Okay. All right, let's see what's going on in the chat. Any thoughts? We are 8 minutes into our session. Any initial thoughts about how you are feeling about the mentor and the mentee conversation? Go ahead, raise your hand, put it in the chat. And remember, the only ask of all of us is that we engage. Because if we are going to derive value out of our session, we must engage. So I'm going to ask you again, any initial thoughts? How are you feeling? What are you thinking? Okay. A little uncomfortable. I can see that. Excited. I can see that too. Yes. Okay. We do have some excellent stories coming up for you. Excellent stories coming up for you. How many of you know about the Pathways Mentor Program? How many of you know about the Pathways Mentor Program? Okay, Amish says he does. It's not the mentorship speech in level 2, right? The Pathways Mentor Program is a mentor program that is available to you. There is advanced mentoring. There is talk about what mentorship means, how you can be a mentor. There are checklists. There is a workbook that you can go through. This is about a mentor-mentee relationship that extends for 6 months. Even if it is a small project you're helping someone with, there is value in that mentor program. I just wanted to touch on that before we moved forward. Now, at this point, I'd like to share one slide here. This is how the Pathways Mentor Program looks. Please let me know if you see my screen. You see it? Okay. So this is the Pathways Mentor Program. If you haven't embarked on this, I would love for you to consider. Once you've completed 2 or 3 levels, once you feel comfortable, once you have established that self-reflection and confidence within yourself, read the program, right? Even if you don't want to make the commitment. I know there are a lot of challenges that come in the way, or at least our mental blocks towards mentorship. Even if you're thinking about it, I'd love to encourage you to consider the program. Read what mentoring is about. How do you prepare to be a mentor? And then take on a small assignment to help someone. If you think about it, oh my God, mentorship. What is the first thing that comes to mind? And I have received plenty of feedback during sessions like this and my own research. And I know is time management. We'll talk about that too, right? Everyone thinks about time management. But my friends, I do say, yes, it is how you manage time. It is how you manage your commitments, how you manage your energy. But most of all, it's a commitment that you make to help yourself too. As a mentor, you are going to grow exponentially. You don't have to take it from me. We'll have examples and stories coming your way. So please consider this program. And this next slide is something that I had put together several years ago, and I still think there is value in it. So my promise is that's the last slide I will share. But I did want to share, just so you can get a glimpse of what some of the basic foundations of this mentor-mentee relationships are. But before I move into that, do we all understand what a one-to-one or an individual mentorship, or how that is different from a club mentorship? Do all of us understand clearly what being a mentor to a club is and what being a mentor to an individual member is? Any questions on that? Does anyone not have clarity? Because it has come up in the past. It's easy to confuse what a club mentor is with what an individual membership or a member mentor is. Club mentors are assigned, and for those of you who may have this question mark on your faces, I will just simply put it, a club mentor, up to 2 mentors can be assigned to a new club to make sure that the club is well situated when it is formed, when it is new, when it is still finding its legs, when members are still settling in, and club officers, the executive committee, sponsors, they are getting into the program and making sure that the club can thrive over the first 6 months. So up to 2 mentors can be assigned to a newly formed club. Now, the mentorship that we are talking about today is individual mentorship. Like, Dr. Bhuvan would mentor me, or I would mentor Arbaz, or Arbaz would mentor Aarthi, right? That's what we are talking about. We're talking about how members mentor other members. Right? Sometimes our needs may change over time. While this program talks about a 6-month mentorship commitment or a contract, right? As you look at it, it could go beyond that. I have a lot of mentors I call situational mentors. I reach out to like dozens of my mentors in the past, and people do the same to me when they need to bounce an idea off of, when they actually need some hand-holding. So while the flavor of mentorship may change, this program actually sets us all on the right path to understanding mentorship, individual one-to-one member mentorship. And I've also tried group mentoring. If any of you are interested, we can talk about that too outside of this conversation. All right, this next slide. Now, I've set context. This next slide, I think, still holds value. You're probably looking at it from the top. Please look at it from the bottom up. The first thing that we will always talk about is the desire. Do I have the desire to be a mentor or a mentee? If we can't get past the desire, we really don't have a relationship. We won't make that commitment, right? That desire is that intention. Do we have the self-awareness of why we are seeking this? Are we aware of our own gifts and our opportunities and our needs and dreams of what we want to achieve? Are we ready to make that commitment? Are we ready to receive? Are we ready to give? Are we ready to commit whatever it takes to ensuring that both our goals of the mentor and the mentee can be achieved? Do we go in with that foundation of mutual respect and understanding? This is like reading, from a library full of humanity, right? We will have our vulnerabilities. We will showcase our strengths. We will have disagreements. We may not agree. We may agree to disagree, but mutual respect and understanding are key, right? How are we allowing ourselves to bring our full selves in, our whole selves in, at the same time? How are we expecting to give that same respect and understanding to the other person? All right. And then that chunk in blue are more practical considerations. How are we going to listen? How are we going to set expectations, fulfill commitments, recognizing each other's needs, valuing differences? I really want to stress on valuing differences, showing appreciation and the role that appreciation, recognition, and motivation have in this relationship. Staying flexible, although we don't want it to be the norm, not showing up for a mentor-mentee meeting or not keeping commitments. We don't want that to be the norm, but we know life happens. How are we forgiving of ourselves and the other person in the relationship, in the mentor-mentee relationship? Feeling empowered, right? How are we feeling empowered to take that chance? How do we take studied risks? How are we supporting each other and share value? The social, emotional, intellectual, whatever value it is that you're seeking from that relationship, how are we holding that together? How are we sharing it? How are we staying in continuous conversation? Right? For the mentee, again, and the mentor, I've listed some of these cornerstones, the minimum requirements, table stakes, as we call it. The first, for both, definitely for the mentor, because the mentee is seeking, is empathy. How do you understand? How do you stay balanced right in the center when a mentee is reaching out? It's easy to judge, especially when you're coming in the capacity of a mentor. It's easy to judge. How do you hold back judgment? How do you listen actively and make sure that you're empathetic to their needs? Okay, how are you staying available? How do you have knowledge of your own personal goals and strengths? How are you open to reassessing your relationship or the rules of engagement, as we call them? How are you open to continuous learning? How do you recognize motivation, judgment versus feedback, leading versus following. How do you lead sometimes, and how do you just let the mentee lead and follow along, right? That's where I say studied risks. How do you let the mentee take their risks and then have the open mind to reflect on it? And last but not least, how do you put the protege first? Right? These are table stakes. All of these starts with desire and self-awareness and readiness and commitment, but it can go all the way. Okay. And for the mentee, I put a lot of stars. You can fill in those blanks. For all of you who are looking to be mentees, or for all of you who are looking at this relationship going forward and realizing that value of it, engagement is important. You can't not show up. You can't not step up. You can't not be willing to take that risk. Yes, it might take some time, right? Growth really does happen only outside your comfort zone. You and I know that, but it can be difficult. That's where the mentor needs to be empathetic. That's where the mentee needs to say, I'm going to take that risk. I am going to step out my comfort zone because I know I have my mentor leading me, right? How do you set SMART goals? Do we all understand the SMART goal concept? We can talk about that too. How are we staying open to feedback? Not easy. I know the first few times I received feedback, I thought they were cruel. People around me, how can they be so cruel? But little did I know that they were coming from a place of helping me. Stay hungry and honor learning. And anything you want to fit in between staying hungry and honoring learning, my friends, is fair game. Okay? This is just a gist of what this might look like for you as a mentor or a mentee. And now I think I am at 19 minutes, correct? I'm right around there. I'm at 19 minutes. Excellent. Excellent. Thank you. Any thoughts on what we just talked about before I bring on my amazing panelists? Was this helpful at all? Did it help you reflect on what this might mean? If you're already a mentee, you could become a mentor. If you're already a mentor, you could be someone's mentee too. Just because you're a mentor doesn't mean you're not a mentee. I'm a mentor to many, but I have plenty of mentors myself. And I'm sure some of you are already both, right? A mentee and a mentor. So we come back to the intention. That's where we started, correct? Our intention drives our behaviors. Okay. How many of you took a chance and filled out the affirmation that I sent your way? No one? Or you're saving it for later in the evening after dinner? That's what I'm reading into it. Dr. Bhuvan did. Oh my God, I love it. Would you mind sharing, sir? If not, it's okay. I don't want to put you on the spot. There's 55 of us, Dr. Bhuvan did. And Shubhayan, is that how you say your name, my friend? Shubhayan did too? Okay, so that's 2. I filled it out, that's 3. So there's 52 of us who have some work to do. Sanat said he did too. So there's 51 of us who have some work to do. And this is for self-reflection. It's not so much to showcase, right? I keep looking at my own affirmation. Many years ago, I was in a workshop where we were talking about cultural curiosity and cultural competence. And that's where I was given something like this to fill out. And I thought that was extraordinarily helpful to me. So I have modeled this exercise around that, right? This was many, 12, 14 years ago that I came across something like that. So I modeled this and I use it often. So it helps us self-reflect. It helps us emboldened just a little bit, okay? At this time, if you are ready, does anyone need a break? If you're ready for some fun, excitement, instead of just me talking and sharing about mentor-mentee relationships, I am going to bring in some of your friends to talk about it. Does anyone need a 2-minute break? Are the panelists ready? Okay, then let's get started. And looks like we have about, let's say 45, 50 minutes for the panel discussion. Okay, so for the next 45 minutes, that's why I was asking if you needed a break. If you want to get a snack, get some coffee, hot water, chai, Anything that you want to bring? Now is a good time before I start introducing our panelists. Sanath, will you still be our timer?
Yeah, I can be the timer.
Okay, I will also.
If you need a break, we can take that. Everyone, if you need a break, we can take.
Do you think we should take a break? No? Okay, I'm good. I'm good. Let me restart the timer. Okay. So we have 2 mentors and 3 mentees to add color, light, and warmth to our mentor-mentee discussion. And I am truly, truly honored to introduce them to you. Our 2 mentors today are Ramanand and Rahul. They're probably not strangers to you. I have known Rahul for a little bit, but I just got acquainted with Ramanand, and I am thrilled that they are here today. Ramanand is an engineer by day and a Toastmaster by day and night. I love that. Currently, he is serving as a division director, and he loves looking at life from the lens of humor. If you wouldn't mind putting your hands together for Ramanand. Come on. Excellent, excellent. All right. Rahul is a 3rd generation entrepreneur. He's a professional speaker and coach. For those of you who have had a chance to see Rahul in action, he is the 2023 District 126 champion in international speech, table topics, and evaluation, and a 2nd place winner in humorous speech contest. He has mentored multiple district level finalists, champions, and TEDx speaker. He's a father to 2 and husband to 1. Only 1, he said. Please put your hands together for our 2nd mentor, Rahul. Right, we have 3 mentees. We have Aarthi, we have Shalini, and Arbaz. I'll start with Arbaz. Arbaz is currently the co-founder and chief technology officer of Lineup X. Is that how you say it, Arbaz? Lineup X? A programmer by weekday and Toastmaster by weekend. Put your hands together and welcome Arbaz. And the 2 ladies I'm going to be introducing. Aarthi is a mentee, and she is an acquired taste, and she'll tell us more about it. I enjoyed listening to what she meant by her own admission. I am an acquired taste, she said. So we'll learn more about that. She is a mix of Monica from Friends and Claire from Modern Family, both of my favorite characters too. And I've watched those shows. And I shared with Aarthi that I'm dating myself because I was watching Friends when it first aired. Way back when, not the reruns, but when it first aired. She sees beauty in little things and believes tiny shots of happiness keep her high in life. Welcome, Aarthi. And last but not least, our friend Shalini. Like fine wine, Shalini says she only gets better by day. Before stepping into confidence and communication, Shalini spent over 10 years in the fashion industry, and with all the happenings in her life and around, she is on an upgrade spree. I love that label, upgrade spree. So if you are ready, we will start with our mentors. If you could keep, just for the sake of time, I know we have almost an hour here, but you know, an hour passes by very quickly. So for our mentors and mentees, I would say, please keep your responses to under a minute. That way we can get through as many questions. I've prepared some questions that I have shared, but you never know what curveball I might throw your way. So be prepared, make this fun, make this engaging, right? We don't want to hear the run of the mill, mentor should be this, this, and this, and a mentee should be this, this, and this. Tell your stories. That's what, those will stick. So please feel free. This is a safe and a brave space. Be vulnerable and be strong. Okay? To our mentors. We'll start with you, Ramanand. Why mentorship? Why do you mentor?
So there is definitely a ulterior motive to this, that is you benefit equally. I love telling this story. I have told it a million times for whoever's heard it in my home club. It's a story that Simon Sinek tells, that when he was seeking mentorship, when he was seeking answers for when he was stuck, a very senior guy Ron Bruder, he always said yes. He was always available. He was always ready to work with him on any task, any expedition that he was working on. Right? And once, while leaving his house, Simon says to him, Ron, I love that you're my mentor. To which Ron simply keeps his hand on his shoulder and says, and I love that you're mine. So this concept, right, it's very different from what coaching is and what teaching is, where your singular focus is maybe a few set of skills, or maybe when teachers teach it, they may not have a vested interest in whether you're really getting better or applying those skills. Well, most of I'm assuming most of them do, but a mentorship is a lot more fluid as a concept, where you gain as well as the mentee does.
I love that. Simon Sinek is one of my favorites too. I follow him. And in a world where we're coached to say, you should know when to say no, I'm one of those. I'm a chronic yes sayer. As much as the executive coaching that I received to know where you should draw boundaries and say no, the true me always says yes. I find a way to make it a yes, mostly through delegation, finding someone else who is desirous of it. But the end result is always a yes, whether I do it personally or not. So I love your response, Ramanand. Thank you. And to everyone who is listening, all of us who are listening here, over 50 of us, please put your questions, thoughts, show your applause, show your recognition and acknowledgement in the chat. I'll take time to read the chat too. Rahul, over to you. Why mentor?
Thank you, Sravanthi. I'm 38, and when I look back at the place that I am at, 20 years ago, I never could even imagine where I am, if I could ever be. And I believe one of the reasons for that is the people who have influenced me. And over the period of time, I've realized one of the greatest blessings that we can be to someone is to be a good mentor. And by mentoring, I'm not saying showcasing who you are or how great you are, but the point is about the power of showing someone beyond what their limitations are and helping them grow beyond those. I think that's what has enabled me through the mentors that I've had to reach or to accomplish or do the small things that I've done in my life. And that's the power that I want to give to the people and show them what's possible with the power of mentoring. So that's the idea of why I mentor, to show the world what they are capable of.
Okay, excellent. That is a great segue, what they're capable of. I am also a person who believes in working from our gifts more than our opportunities. So that kind of resonates with me. So thank you for sharing that. So with Ramanand, we learned that saying yes is a great start to mentorship or to any relationship. We learn from one another. Rahul, bringing out the best and making sure we show them the potential. So to our mentees here, Aarthi, Shalini, and Arbaz, in that order as I see you on my screen. If any of you would like to take that question of how has your mentor, and as you go, please do mention who your mentor is. How has your mentor brought out your gifts to amplify your progress, or how have they recognized your gifts? Yes, we all work on opportunities. That's what we think mentors do. But how have they started with your gifts? If you'd like me to call you, I can call you by name. If any of you want to take that question first, go ahead, Shalini.
Hi, Sravanthi. It was September 2023 when I joined Toastmasters. And after 2 or 3 weeks, I took up my first role, which was our counter. Now, at this point, it seems like a trivial role. But you wouldn't believe that day on stage, I just had to read out a few lines. It was a 30-second script. And my smartwatch kept on beeping, high heart rate, high heart rate. And it showed that the heart emoji with 120, whatever the parameter was. So I realized that how difficult it is just to appear, just to be on stage. And just for that, I ran to my mentor, Ramanand. So thankfully, he's still my mentor. He's not checked me out with the number of questions that I asked. So I asked him and I asked for a feedback, and I I wanted a lot of detail as to how I spoke, what went wrong for those 30 seconds. And he patiently sat, listened, and spoke to me. You could have done this. You should have done this. You should do this better next time. And however, you did this best just by coming. So now that has made me also a bit more empathetic, a little more empathetic to my mentees, because now I've gone through that road. I've walked that road, how it feels to appear on the stage for the first time, even though it's a small role like taking up our counter or grimaring. But it does matter to come up on stage and to speak.
Excellent. No role is trivial. And thank you. Thank you for saying, I would think for someone as confident, you've been in the industry, you worked in, Hollywood, Bollywood, whatever your endeavors were. I would say for someone like that, people wouldn't think that getting on stage or reading out a report in front of the microphone would be such a big deal. I love the fact that you said high heart rate, right? It does. Even now, as we're going through, over time, my ears are still warm, right? Over time, we just know how to manage that. We just know how to paddle hard without anyone recognizing. It's not visible, but we're all paddling hard. So thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that. Aarthi and Arbaz? Go ahead, Aarthi.
Hi, Shanti and everybody. Thank you so much. Somewhere in our lives, we've always felt lost. And I personally felt, I wish someone could see me, someone could see the abilities that I have, and someone could, put spotlight on me and just push me. And that was for a very long time. And I kept looking for someone as a mentor. And that's when I met Rahul accidentally, thanks to one of my friends who introduced me to Rahul. The best thing about getting along with Rahul was he saw me through my lens, which is not easy to find with people. And that clicked very quickly. And the thought process that we both have, I started enjoying the way that he thinks because it aligned with the way what I want. So it was when two puzzles fit together. And every time, I see myself or when I interact with him, I see I'm a stone, he's carving. He's carved, he's still carving, and I'm going to be continued to be bringing the good in me out. So that's only because he saw through my lens more than his.
Excellent, excellent. I love the metaphors that you're using. You're very poetic, right? It paints a great picture in our minds. And I've known Rahul right from the moment he said hello, and I've had a chance to meet him more than once when I visited Hyderabad. So I know he can have that kind of effect, and I'm learning more about Ramanand, and we have two of his mentees here. So we'll move to you, Arbaz. How about your gifts that Ramanand helped bring out?
My mentor is Mentor Ramanand Bhatt. I remember my journey is also same as journey of Shalini, where when I went on the stage for very first time in my life, I was literally shivering. And there was a guy sitting in the audience observing me very patiently. Once meeting got over, he came to me and he's like, Abbas, what you went through, it's in a way normal. But the key to being good at public speaking is showing up and being committed for a long time. For example, I still remember his advice. If you commit yourself for 3 to 5 years to the Toastmaster, the value that you will get, it is going to be unparalleled. And I think being in the Toastmaster from last 2 years, I can literally see that coming through every day that I spend in the Toastmaster setup. And honestly, seeing someone in the audience and reaching out to them and helping them with this advice, only Ramanand can do that. For example, I also see many speakers on the stage who need to go to them and explain them how they can do better was something I feel was very beneficial for me as far as mentorship is concerned.
Excellent, thank you. And all three of you, I think Shalini, you said September 2023, Arbaz, you said 2 years, so that puts both of you around 2 or under. Aarthi, how long have you been a Toastmaster?
I've been a Toastmaster for 2.5 years.
Okay, excellent, excellent. So you are newer, but not too new. But you each found someone deeply invested in your learning. They acknowledge, they understand, they say it's normal. They bring out, they see you, like Aarthi said, through they see you for what you wanted to be seen as opposed to setting this example and said, you should be that. It's very easy, especially as we are looking at, the world stage, and we rush to see speakers who are, square shouldered, broad voice, big, full of confidence. It is hard to not feel like we don't belong. That's the power of this program, is through that experiential learning, is by taking that small chance, is by knowing that somebody is there waiting to help you, to lift you up, and to truly help you feel like you are empowered. So to me, each of your mentees have mentioned it, Rahul, and you and I understand. We'll start with you. What is the role of leaning in and listening? And I'll follow that up with a particular question that Ramanand, I know, mentioned in our conversation. So what's the role of active listening, Rahul, in this relationship?
Thank you, Sravanthi. Alongside being a mentor, I'm also a professional coach. And so it invariably comes into the way I tackle my mentoring experience. I think at the heart of mentoring and the idea of trying to influence or upping the game for people, the question really boils down to what Aarthi mentioned, the line that she said, I see her from the lens of what she sees, not what I want it to be. So here's something which I feel that when it comes to mentoring, the entire process through which I go through is not giving the answers. It's asking the right questions. Because more often than not, we can be feeding what we think, what we feel, or what we think is right. Having experienced and having the broader vision of how things work, we can be limited by the way things operate. But the important challenge is that we miss out on the opportunity to connect it with what the mentee needs. So here in that context, I feel the entire idea of listening and constantly seeing the cues of what is it that the mentee is feeling, or what is it that the mentee needs, more than what you want to give, more about what the mentee needs, is something that comes to the fore with active listening. And so the part of the entire getting the mentee talking is from the questions that you ask. And that's what you get the meat of.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for that succinct response. Thank you for that succinct response. Ramanand, we talked about your particular interest, and you mentioned it takes patience, right? And both your mentees, in not so many words, have said that you are this person that's a calming influence. So talk about why you think that. What role does patience, in addition to listening, have in this relationship?
I'd like to supplement this response by telling you an anecdote, something that I've experienced when I was working with Accenture in my very initial days. So when you go into the recreational rooms, you'll see tons of people playing carom and pool, table tennis, stuff like that. So there used to be a district level player that maybe that career didn't work out for him, but he used to play an amazing level of table tennis. And I was literally a beginner out there. I took my bat out and I wanted to play a game with him. At that point in time, he said, "No, you play with someone else." I said, "Why?" He says, "It's because if I'm that level of a player, I only play with champions. With all due respect, if I play with you, I have to slow my game down. And if any one of you has seen a game of table tennis, it's a very rapid. It's to and fro continuously. You hardly even get the time to blink. If you take that and if you try and apply this concept to mentorship, it doesn't sit well, not even to the remotest possibility, right? Now the point I'm trying to make is you have as a mentor to be able to go a level up or a level down. Now someone like Shalini, who's a budding motivational speaker and a coach and a trainer, who's before she joined Toastmasters, she already had 60K plus followers on Instagram. That approach to her is going to be very different as opposed to Arbaz, who's a tech co-founder, right? If I go with one size fits all, and if I simply say this is what happens within the ecosystem of Toastmasters and this is what you have to follow, it doesn't work out. So you need a lot of patience to go a level up or level down, to look at things from their angle first. Like Rahul mentioned, ask as many questions as possible, look at the outcome they are looking for, and then design a program that fits them, that will help them extract the best out of whenever they start their journey.
Excellent. Thank you, Ramanand. Thank you. I love your analogy of table tennis, and we have one in the basement. I don't attempt to going into it because no one in the household is as patient as you probably are, or you learned to be. So I've never learned to play table tennis, but something I might try. Yeah. If my family is listening, then they might take a tip here. So I love that. And when I ask questions of our mentees, so one of you could take that, because our idea is to get through as many perspectives and nuances of this is concerned. So it's not like all three of you have to answer the same question. So whoever wants to take this next question, talk about a particular roadblock. We talked about gifts. Now let's talk about some roadblocks. Talk about a particular roadblock that you faced. And if you can briefly tell us how your mentor helped you. Now, what was your mentor's role in overcoming that roadblock or shedding more light on it for the mentees? A particular roadblock, Toastmasters or otherwise. Go ahead, Arbaz. Are you unmuting? Go ahead.
Yes. So I remember having this discussion with Raman a year ago. So at times, as he was mentioning, that at times we just need to gear up, gear down based on the situation. Because at times we get into our head so much that if I would be doing this like I would be doing this instead of a person next, I would be doing it better. So at times we tend to compare ourselves with others and feel that they're not doing their job properly because we compare their work with our work. So I remember me having this issue at my workplace or in general at Toastmaster. But whenever I have discussed it with Raman, I have understood because he has also followed the same journey, right? He was in the XCOM of the club first as a VPPR, VPM, VP, president, and even at district also he's division director. He was also in similar dilemmas. Like, when we work with people, we in a way have high expectations because we compare themselves with us. So when I was facing similar situations, I think talking to him got me a perspective that don't compare your expectations or your achievement with others. Otherwise, you will always have that ego issues. Then post that, I started looking at things objectively. If I were in that situation, maybe this time things are different. Maybe the people are different. And the moment I started doing that more and more, it was in a way relaxing for me as experience. Otherwise, I used to feel very agitated, like why this is not working the way it should work, why that is not working
Understood.
should work. And I think that helped me. So as far as roadblock is concerned, that was very helpful.
Excellent. And he helped you think, right? He helped you think, self-reflect, and say, be open to exploring other options. Because when situations don't meet our expectations, agitation is our first response. Like, why is this happening? It should have not, and da 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 da. We try to place blame on someone, or we try to self-reflect and say, oh my God, I should have done this differently, right? To have someone to bounce ideas off of, to be that influence where they're helping you look at it as objectively, like you said, you have to step away from the situation. So thank you for bringing that perspective. Shalini and Aarthi, what are some specific Toastmasters related? Now, this Arbaz said in his workplace, what are some of the Toastmasters specific projects or events that your mentor helped you either participate in or be successful in? How did you apply your knowledge and take advantage of the relationship? It could be a small project, maybe just a speech or an event, or what you're doing, Aarthi, with educational sessions and sharing of events. Go ahead, Shalini.
Okay. So when I had joined, and just 6 months after, I was actually very much keen to learn public speaking. And of course, Rama saw that spark in me, and he was equally nourishing as a mentor. So after 6 months, he said, you should become the next VPPR. And he was a VPE then at that time. And when I joined, he was VPM. So when he was the VP, he said, you should, because you have the potential. I said, I know Canva, I know designing, but I'm not very good at it. I don't have the confidence. And I don't think, it's like having a lot of burden on me. So he said, don't worry, you'll learn on the job. And he actually pushed me to do it. And trust me, within Toastmasters, it helped me grow so much, not only in my designing skills, but working in XCOM, aligning with or working in sync with others. And I did learn on the job. So that now, as he said, if I'm a budding content creator, it helps me now blindfoldedly. I can just make some posters or edits on the go, on the run, on the fly, just anytime. So yes, within Toastmasters, he gave me that challenge, move forward and learn on the job. That's how you learn. Never sit back and wait for an opportunity, create. But it has
Wonderful.
really helped me in my real life also.
Absolutely, absolutely. That, that's effective delegation too. When we think about, leadership and how do we achieve what we want to achieve, and how do we match that with someone who has a gift or an interest or the desire to learn and grow, we take a studied chance, right? So that's, I think, what Ramanand did. And look at you now. Yeah.
Yes, those 6 months of serving as a VPPR changed a lot of, I can just say it multiplied, it amplified my growth 10x.
Absolutely, absolutely. And even if you look at it as just that you gain some new skills using some, some other new applications or some other wizardry outside of that, imagine the self-confidence and the growth that you experience, right? So Aarthi, segueing on that, tell us about maybe within or beyond Toastmasters, and I keep saying this, right? Because our mentorship and what we learn with the Toastmasters, truly, the power of it is outside this meeting room, right? So mentorship goes a long way in impacting our personal, social, professional lives too. So we talked about gifts, we talked about challenges, roadblocks, talk to me about vulnerability. How do you see your mentor impacting you, not just in augmenting and bringing out your strengths, but talk about vulnerability to us. How is that important in the equation?
I met Rahul after I cleared ISC as a division champion, and I was preparing for ISC district. That's the first time I got connected with him. And trust me, till today, I've not met him in person. But the way we, like I said, the thought process that connected. And as he started helping me prepare for ISC district finals, while the process was going on, and one day I messaged him, I'm feeling very jittery. I'm feeling very nervous because it's my first time. It was my first time at Eloquence. It's my first time with 250 plus audience. Everything is first time. And I texted this to him, and quickly I got a call. He said, hey, you expect someone to advise you or say, hey, no, don't worry. And he said, you know what? I've also been there. And not just for one contest, I had 4 contests to ace. So this is a basic level of showing vulnerability, is that you are not alone. I have also been there. Somewhere I kept him in a pedestal that, oh, he's my mentor. He's already 4 contests that he has aced it. Wouldn't be a big deal. So he said, listen, I have been there and I understand it too. And when things, apart from Toastmasters, I have also connected with him and helped him in his own Speak Up Club, where I've helped him write content for him, and with his content that he has, and as a ghostwriter. And I get a call from him saying, listen, I need help. I don't know what to do. I need help with this club. Maybe bringing people, or can you help me with writing up? Okay, he also gets stuck because he's, after all, a human being. So every time he showed the basic vulnerabilities, I kept reducing the height of the pedestal. And then I felt closer to him, as that, what, you and I are the same. Then I realized he's also a mentor, mentee to someone. So these vulnerabilities make you feel, doesn't make you feel less. And so I now know I can go to him for any problem I have.
I love that. I love that. And almost through interaction, and it's surprising, right? That I mentioned at the beginning of our conversation before we started the meeting, is the only silver lining to this whole pandemic business is that the world got smaller suddenly, right? You've not met him, and I have met him from all this distance away, right? I've met him a few times. So this is amazing. This is amazing. Thank you for sharing that. And just that we reach out and we become those multipliers. So now he has instilled that confidence in you that you could be a mentor simply because he asked. And now we are all multipliers. And you made a good point of how do we help this club? And each of us, if you look across Toastmasters, many clubs are struggling. So I implore each one of you, all of you, right? All 51 of us can help clubs, can help reach out. You don't have to be a club leader. You are a leader with your thoughts, with your actions, with you leaning in, with your empathy, with your knowledge, with your gifts. You can actually lean in and help those clubs come out of their challenging situations, to bring in new members, right? We all want to bring in new members only to our clubs. Look for a club that is in need of members and say, hey, maybe consider that club because my friend is an amazing officer there and he will help mentor you or he will help ease your transition, right? I understand we all want to grow, but let's also open our eyes up. And now going into the mentors to ask you a question right along the lines of what Aarthi just shared. I do want to say we typically talk about mentees or proteges benefiting from the program, right? This talk, typically when we talk about mentorship, we talk about, oh my God, mentees, they gain so much from the mentors. But we know that's not always true. Mentees are not the only ones gaining from this relationship because it goes both ways. How have you each grown as mentors? How have you grown as a mentor? We'll start with you, Ramanand. What have you learned from being almost like a quasi-mentee in this relationship?
So, like I mentioned with the very first story of Simon Sinek, it goes both ways, and it's a very fluid concept. It absolutely helps you shed your ego, as you know. The mentorship is never about being in a position of authority. So, from Shalini, what I've learned is the constant hunger. Right? So, I've been here. I know when to take a step back and when to do this, when to do that, as a leader, as a club member, as a speaker, all that. But Shalini always has her eyes set on a singular goal, and she has to attain it in the next 2-3 months, and she'll reach out to me. She'll keep working on it in the back end. So that helps me reassess some of my own goals. Am I neglecting something? Do I need to get on track again? That's something that's an inspiration that I draw from her. She's an expert in the social media space, right? So I am absolutely not going to hesitate if I ever get into any kind of social media, personal branding or content creation. That she's going to be the first person that I reach out to without absolutely no hesitation at all. When it comes to Arbaz, I see a lot of myself in him, and it's a great leveler in terms of all the obnoxious things that he does now, which I absolutely enjoy. He roasts people, he'll make fun of them, and you name it. And when I see that in him, I know those are the things that I cannot do. No, I cannot. I can no longer do them. I used to do them. I can still do them. I will enjoy them. But right now, I'm in a different position. So when I see him, I love that he's on that journey where he's exploring, where he's experimenting, and that helps me to again reassess and not. I don't want to lose touch with the kid in me, with the person that I used to be, because with time you will change, your personality will change, a lot of new things will get appended, but it's a constant reminder when I see at him the dedication balanced with the fun that he has is something that I need to retain in me.
So you remind me, excellent stories, right? Very different. That's what is the beauty of this, right? And I've had the opportunity to do the same. And your story with Arbaz reminds me of one of my younger friends, Sangeeta. She reminds me of me, right? And she says, Akka, you're putting, oh, I don't want to do it. Okay, but I'll do it. Right? I see how she says yes to everything that's suggested to her. But now I'm coaching her to say, you have to be judicious when you say yes. You don't want to end up like me. So I am conscious too. So excellent stories. So Rahul, your story, what have you learned? What have you, beyond just projects and Toastmasters, how have you grown as a person? Address the person, Rahul. How has Rahul grown through mentorship?
I think the entire idea of mentorship, and personally with the work that I do beyond Toastmasters as well, I've often used the entire experience of mentoring as an opportunity to learn, because they say the best way to learn is to teach it. And in the process of evaluating, analyzing, supporting, and uplifting, I find parts of me which are missing, and there's a constant chase to up the game for myself. Like Aarthi mentioned, the vulnerability opens up, but it also has to have a place where, okay, he knows something beyond me. And for that, there's always been a game of trying to up my game and constantly chasing excellence in the process of learning things. And there were times, I think I've heard Aarthi deliver at least 25 different speeches to me. And in the process, the admiration that we have for the knack that she has with words and the creative approach that she delivers her speeches with, you just have already got a flair of what she is. And it does create a kind of a thought in me that what's missing. I think there's something that I can learn from her as well. And I keep constantly upping my game, looking at the mentees and learning from them as well, and upping my game in the process.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. Upping your game on an upgrade spree, like Shalini said, right? We're all on an upgrade spree, whether we know it or not, with Toastmasters. Literally, literally, it is transformational. When Toastmasters says it is a transformational experience, all of us know that. Some of us are in the process of leveraging it. Some of us are experiencing the value already. And some of us are still doubtful, like, yeah, sure. When it works for you, it works. But true is, will it work for me? If you haven't taken a chance, my friends, I truly, truly encourage you. Take a chance with Toastmasters. It will change your life. Now, we've all had happy stories, right? Each of you is so invested in your mentee. But what about some of those crucial conversations when you disagree, right? I want to know, what are some of those times when you actually disagreed? When you did not agree on either a suggestion? Thank you, Sanath. I do show 35 minutes too. Thank you, my friend. When you disagreed, when you had to have a crucial conversation where you said, you know, I don't agree with you, whether you were a mentee or whether you're a mentor. How did you handle those? I bet you, we are all different, and we'll talk about leadership and communication styles too. We're all different people. Disagreement is at the heart of our existence. So how does anyone want to take that? We can start with the mentors, or we can start with the mentees saying, hey, I disagreed with the suggestion my mentor gave me. How did you handle those? Shalini, I see your hand. Yep, please go up. Go ahead.
I clearly remember I had just become the VP PR, and there was a whole team of buddies. And initially, everybody was very accommodating, helping, but gradually, it was like a one-man army. And I just one day said to Rama that this is not done. When they promised, they should work and they should help me out. At that time, he was VPE. And before that, when I joined the club, he was serving as a VPM. Now, a VPM, Mumbai Toastmasters, like 100 calls in a day. And VPE is equally or even tougher. So he said, no, you got to learn and you got to do it on your own. Do not rely on other people. And I disagreed that no, when they said that they would help me, they should. So I did not realize the intensity of his work at that time. And I just stepped in his shoes for one day. He just showed me what all he's doing. Besides working as a VP and coordinating with 100 people, 100 others for these little things, and the XCOM, and so many people messaging, backing out N-minute from the speed slots they've taken, so many N-minute glitches, tech glitches, venues, and all of that, and new events to plan and to execute. So then I realized that if we can do so much, why do I need to rely on 3 other people? Just put in extra effort and do it on your own. Maybe that is actually an opportunity to learn more. So the whole idea that I had, because I served as a VP PR just within 5 or 6 months of joining, the whole idea that I had that it's a full-fledged team and it's not a single person wearing the crown, it changed a lot after that. And then my attitude also changed towards the other buddies as well, and towards my work as well. So that disagreement, I believe, was something that I needed at that point, and it transformed my mindset a lot.
Okay, good one. I know I have paddled for a couple of clubs where I felt like I was the one-man army, but that also brings out a thought about accountability, right? Yes, I can do it 10 times faster instead of relying on 10 other people, but how am I holding people accountable? How am I making sure that they're growing through their responsibility, right? We have relied on them. Would either of our mentors care to comment on that? How are you holding not just your mentees, but in general, anyone who is working with you accountable while being supported, right? How do you walk that path mindfully? Very quickly, if you want to comment. If not, we can move on.
Yeah, I can add a little bit to this. So when I was president of the club, I realized what accountability is. So as a VPPR, as a VPM, or as the VPE, you are responsible for a lot of tasks. You are responsible to get stuff done. But as the president, you don't have much to do except for provide some strategy or leadership or some guidance to these people. So I have definitely went through these situations where people are not really adept at what they do, not up to the mark when they are executing things. So first thing is, the thing about thinking in systems is that there are a lot of constraints and there are a lot of interdependabilities. So one thing that's a lot more about self discovery that I learned is it's less on the lines of leadership, less on the lines of communication, but about self discovery. It's that anything that is happening right now with your team or in the club, wherever in your life, a majority of it can be traced back to your actions. Why did you not think of this? Why did you not do something to have, uh, mitigate this? Because when you look at uh, product led growth, that's a concept that a lot of product managers use. It says, instead of having a team for customer support and relying on people to solve those customer tickets faster, why don't you design an app that prevents these glitches or technical issues in the first place? Design a better app in the first place.
Okay, all right, understood. So any other thoughts on accountability? But I do have a couple of items that I absolutely want to get to. That is about communication and leadership styles and how do we navigate and meld. And then, of course, our favorite topic, time management. Rahul, quick comment on accountability.
Okay. As a coach, there's something which I've often encountered when people look at blaming or seeking some external factor as a reason for what is happening to you. And that's where one thing that I learned in coaching is that the question that we need to ask is, how are you being, as a result of which you are getting what you're getting? So in terms of accountability, the question sometimes is, how is your presence and how is your energy leading others to follow through on what they have committed to? I think that's one approach that has always helped me in getting the best out of people and making them accountable. I've had times where I've ended up doing all the 8 roles, all the 7 EC roles of a meeting and all done by myself. And yet I've had those situations that I can do all, but I know where, to what extent I need to give that leeway. And beyond that, I will do all things. But yes, I need to look at how am I being with which the other person can respond to how I want it to be.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And this comes into our principles, plays into our principles of personal productivity too, right? So personal productivity, what are some of the tools, what are some of the constructs that we are using? I'm a big fan of the Eisenhower matrix for anyone who's looking for personal productivity tools. I am a big fan of it. I've been using it for several years. If you don't, I'll put it in the chat if you want to explore, but I'll put it in the chat after our session so you don't get distracted now. But we will move into a couple of things that I absolutely wanted to touch in if we can keep it brief, because we are now almost coming to the end of our session. Under 1 minute, please. Would anyone like to address how, seeing as how we all have different communication and leadership styles, right? What we are seeking, what we are giving, what you're expecting, how you're communicating. How do you navigate that artfully towards productive outcomes, both for the mentor and the mentee? How do you navigate the difference in communication styles? How do you bridge that gap? Or leadership styles for that matter?
Sravanthi, is it for the mentees also?
No, go ahead, Aarthi.
Okay, with Rahul, our communication style is very direct because that works best for me. If I have to grow, I cannot listen to, honey-filled pancakes. No, I would like, what you say directly is what is going to help me. So if you talk about communication style, it has been a free flow of, time that we have had that I can't think of any time there were disagreements. But at the same time, it has been to the point, very crisp. This is what you're supposed to do. This is going to help you. Take it. And I think this is how it will help when you put it out to the audience. Because with Rahul, it has never been on leadership front. Because it is not on the XCOM roles mentorship. It has more been on the speech or personality development per se. So communication, the way that works has been working for us is not hurting, not getting too personal, but being very direct and with the intent that we discussed at the beginning to uplift, to make an impact and help.
Okay. Sanat says we have under 1 minute left. We will close in just a couple of seconds. I do want to ask Sanat, maybe we'll take a few minutes extra just so we can close it out nicely. I do have some Q&A that we'll get to as soon as I close. Based
Yeah,
on everything that we have heard, I do want to get to the time management aspect, and we'll spend just a couple of minutes on this one. We've talked about how commitment is important, how we recognize needs, how we go about it, understanding each other with empathy, with understanding, with that readiness, right? So mentors, how do you manage commitment when it comes to time? How do you make time? What does it mean to you? What does time management in this scenario mean to you, Rahul?
For me, it's like timing a speech. There's a ground rule set with regard to how and when we can communicate, what is the mode of comfort of communication. And I think we have a catch up every week for around 7 to 10 minutes to understand what's the progress, what's not the progress, and getting a clarity on what is it that's limiting you from doing what you need to do. I think a clear-cut time frame and kind of a follow-up on that from both the parties is something which has helped us manage the time and give the best of whatever time that we are giving to this relationship.
Do you, and I'll ask the same of Ramanand, do you have this, if a weekly meeting doesn't work, are you okay communicating asynchronously via WhatsApp or whatever? Do you absolutely hold, and is that okay with your mentee, or this mentee or any other mentees?
So given my schedule, how it's been for the last 1.5 years, I don't have a set schedule to meet my mentees, although that would be great to have. But one thing that is in my control is to give them a solid foundation when they join. For the first 2-3 months, if I'm continuously behind you, making you do stuff, asking you things where you're lagging, all of that. After those 3 or 4 odd months, once I'm convinced that they are here to stay, it is their journey. At any point in time, if they need me at any phase, whether it's low or high, I'm always there, and that's a belief that they pretty much know about.
Excellent. And I had a few other thoughts that I wanted to ask, and I shared this with all of you, the importance of recognition. And I know so many of you touched on it, right? I was appreciated, I was acknowledged, I was recognized, my hand was held, my thoughts were embraced in a warm hug. I felt like I belonged. I continued over time. So thank you for touching on that. There are other thoughts on progress versus achievement. So how many of you think you are more married to progress versus winning a speech contest? Or Rahul's biggest moment I know is somebody didn't win a speech contest, but said that he had an impact on their growth. So Arbaz, you hand your hand up. Progress versus achievement.
Yes. So initially, when you join Toastmaster, you see people speaking on the stage. You want to win that best speaker ribbon, right? It's very tempting, and that's the aim when you attend meetings. I remember having conversation on similar lines with my mentor Ramanand. He told me one thing about there are two things: there's effort, there's outcome. Not every time outcomes are in your hand, but efforts are in your hand. If you stay consistent, if you commit yourself, eventually you'll get the outcome. But if you run after the outcome since day one, you may or you may not get the outcome, because a lot of it depends upon the luck, randomness, certainty, uncertainty. But what you have in your hand is commit to the cause and show up and put all that you have in efforts. And I think that advice stuck to me, and I believe progress is more important than achievement.
Wonderful. Achievement will come, right? Like when my girls were in elementary school, their science teacher used to say, Apurva science teacher said, you do the work, the grades will come, right? That resonated with me when she was in 3rd grade, when she shared that, Mr. So-and-so, my science teacher, he always said, don't worry about the grades, Apurva. I think you are, obviously the mom here said, okay, if you get a B, you're sitting in the garage for the rest of the day. No, but just joking. But you do the work, you get the grades. Absolutely. Aarthi or Shalini, any thoughts on progress versus achievement?
I'd like to go first if Shalini's. Let's say you win the best auxiliary role player. It gives you a high. You want to win again. So I believe winning and achieving does give you a rush, but that's only possible if you progress every time. Progressing every time will lead you to winning and achieving. So if you ask which is better, I would say I want to. Anybody would not, nobody would say that, no, I don't want to win, I don't want to achieve. Yes, of course, we all want to. But that's only possible if you keep progressing every time you
Understood.
win and win.
Excellent, excellent. Shalini, any thoughts?
So achievement, when you achieve something, it's like a one-time high. But when you are progressing gradually, when people around you outside of Toastmasters applaud and they commend you for what you're doing, the way you speak, the way you conduct yourself, that progress is like an all-time high. That is
Agreed.
permanent.
Agreed. Agreed. And it comes from within. I think every step towards progress is achievement. I have achieved because I stepped out to take a new role. I have achieved because I wrote my very first icebreaker, right? Rahul, go ahead. And then I'm going to come to your famous last words.
Just a quick line here, because I've always told this when people talked about my winning. I told that year I didn't progress to World Championship for public speaking. Imagine the one who won there was a part of my club.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You can never be certain of how things will pan out outside. What you can be certain of is what you are doing and the impact that you are trying to create. And it's not a zero-sum game. The beauty is that the winning can be a zero-sum game, but the impact is never a zero-sum game. It's the power that everyone has with their words, with the ideas, with the stories. They can make an impact, and everyone can do it. It doesn't have to be that the one who's coming second or third doesn't make an impact. They do, and they will always do. That's the advice that I give to all my mentees, that never chase the trophy. Don't sing to the gallery. Focus on the impact that you're making. And if you're a people's winner, that's all that matters. If you're making an impact with the intent that you have, that's what matters, I believe.
Fantastic. Fantastic. And I know I'm humbled every time I get to learn from all of you. So thank you for bringing your whole selves in. Thank you for participating. Thank you for making this fun and thought-provoking. I hope all our friends who are participating here got something out of it. I do have a couple of questions that I want to address before we close out and get to the last thing I want to ask of you. Divyesh asks how to approach our mentors who are most senior members, especially when they are elders of age group who speak very candidly to their juniors. Would any of the mentors want to take that? I think Divyesh, maybe there is a hesitation in, let's say, Rahul has won this, Ramanand has done this, Shalini has done that, Sravanthi is here. And I don't know what that all means, but Divyesh, if you want to elaborate, that's great. If not, would the mentors want to address this?
I think it's just a filter that we put through. I'm 38 and I mentor even 12-year-olds. That's how it is. It's just a matter of reaching out and getting in touch. Reach out, you never know what turns around and comes back to you. So I think we just need to overcome that idea that a senior is often not approachable, but it's just that it could be contrary. It could be a delight to have someone or mentor someone who's much younger or who's a novice. So it's okay. But the point is, I think it's just a filter that we need to take off from our mind before we can think that I can't reach out or there's a challenge there.
So true, so true. I'm out here for anyone who needs me. I know, everyone who participated today is out there. This is just an artificial barrier we put out there. Divyesh, if that rings a bell or rings true to you, please ping any one of us or take a chance with anyone who you have in mind, who prompted you to ask this question, my friend. There is no such thing as hesitation. And if they don't, in all honesty, they will let you know, right? If they can't commit, if it's not the right time, they will let you know. So, but take a chance. We are all in this together. And Shubhayan asked, for mentors, what's the best way to mentor someone who lacks self-awareness and is unwilling to acknowledge their weakness? Ramanand?
Okay, I think first reality check that you. So firstly, it's great of you to have put in so much thought because you're taking this seriously. Now, having said that, number one, it is not your full-time job or your entire responsibility to get them out of their shell and you can't hold their hand and make them do stuff. Just like any other thing in life, Toastmasters also is not for everyone. Let's accept that they're true. Second is, if you think they are not self-aware or they're not willing to work on their weaknesses, the only thing that is in your hand is use sentences like, in my experience, this works. In my opinion, you should do this. Simple.
Very well said.
After
Very well
that, if
said.
it doesn't work out, it's not your headache.
For the mentees.
I'd just like to add there.
Sure, go
I've
ahead.
always told this to people whom I've come across with this challenge. Why should you even walk the horse to the pond if, let alone, having or feeding them or pushing them to have that water? Uh, Experience and the deep rooted. Your slide had that point. The first one is the desire. That's a basic thing of where the initiation should start from the mentee side more than anything from the mentor's side. So the drive or the desire of what you can pull out from someone has to be of the mentee. We are there to
Excellent.
offer.
Agreed. For the mentees, how do you politely disengage from a mentor-mentee relationship when you feel you're no longer benefiting from it? I know you're still engaged with two of your mentors. No one's putting you on the spot. But how would you? And I want to bring this up before you answer that question. I do say, mentorship does not have to be permanent. It's not personal. It is personal in a way that you're developing the relationship. Let's say I have Rahul or Ramanand or Shalini as my mentor today. You know, it's not personal that I am ditching them or I'm suspending them and moving on. It is just that sometimes our goals have either been met or no longer are applicable, or we are not meeting our goals. So maybe for whatever reason. So I would say, if I were you, I would take it personally in the sense of the relationship that you are trying to carve out and nurture here. But if you're goal oriented, if you're saying that I'm in this for this particular reason and you have certain rules of engagement, I don't think there is anything to feel insulted about or obligated to stay in that relationship. So from a mentee perspective, that's my mentee perspective, or even from a mentor perspective, no one has offended me if they say, Sravanthi, we take a break now, and they keep in touch, but it's not like our everyday. So mentees, any thoughts on that? How would you, let's say you have to break off with, when I say break off, right, the formal engagement that you have with either Rahul or Ramanand, if you have to politely step away from it, how would you do that? Or is that something that is a problem for you?
I'll go. If I have to break off with Ramanand, okay, a mentor and mentee, when the relationship is more than 6 months or 8 months, I believe it is more real. It is more than just a mentor-mentee relationship. It somehow becomes personal. We become friends or we behave like siblings, whatever. So in that sense, now I have a relation with Rama for 2.5 years, the day I joined. He's been my mentor. So in that sense, if I have to break off with him, I would be very honest and obviously polite, but very honest to the point, to the core, that this is the problem and this is what is irking me. Because if there is a scope of reconciliation or maybe clearing out what I misconstrued in the first place, why not give it a chance?
Understood.
And I'm sure he will understand.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that comes from building that trust and going in with saying that, hey, this is why I'm reaching out to you. You can remain my mentor for this aspect, but this other aspect of our relationship or our commitment is not working. So that honesty right from the beginning, when you build on it, will help. So absolutely, I see all head nods and some smiles from the audience too. So thank you for that. And my last question to you, and make this a fun round, 30 seconds. If I were writing a book and I was focusing on mentoring, what would your famous last words be? We'll start with you, Aarthi.
Can I go last, please?
Okay, you can go last. Arbaz will go first. There you go, alphabetically too.
So in my understanding, mentoring, the relationship between mentor and mentoring, or the mentorship as a concept, is more like a gardening. You have to seed the right goal, and you have to keep watering it regularly, right? It's more like a feedback. keep checking on your mentees and see how they are progressing. Once they transform themselves into a fruit, and that's why you can, see how you have achieved your goal. You can think about becoming a plant yourself, like what happened in banyan tree, right? What knowledge you have imparted, how you can apply it to your mentees, and how you can make this network grow and grow, and make a whole forest. This is how I look uh, towards the whole
So I'm
concept
also
of.
excellent. I love your metaphor. I'm also playing the editor-in-chief for my book, right? So I would tease yours down to don't just look for the fruit, become the tree. Alrighty then. I'm also the editor, so keep it brief. Famous last words, one sentence. Shalini.
If you were writing a book, Sravanthi, and you are a mentor, I would say I recall those words from Warren Buffett. He said, invest in yourself so that the world will want to invest in you. So just take those words from a mentor to a mentee, and both of them are on the right track towards progress.
Absolutely. And we know where that thought got Warren Buffett. So there is reason to believe. Rahul.
I hope each one of you will understand Hindi, but I'll still translate it if need be. I heard this quote recently, and I feel mentoring or coaching is the closest thing that we can get to mentoring or coaching is parenting. And this is a line which resonates deep with the philosophy of what I follow and believe in when it comes to mentoring. It reads, जो माता पिता अपने बच्चों का हाथ पकड़ के चलाना नहीं सिखाते, वो अक्सर चल नहीं सकते. लेकिन जो माता पिता अपने बच्चों का हाथ छोड़ना नहीं सीखते, वो बच्चे अक्सर दौड़ना नहीं सीखते. There's a thin line between what you do as a mentor, as a coach, of how much you are holding someone and how much you are letting go of. Because that's where the mentee comes to the centerpiece of your entire relationship, not you serving the ego of you being a leader or you being a coach and you being someone who is the authority over it. The ultimate goal is the mentor or the coach should become invisible. That's the goal.
Fantastic. I try to identify these goosebumps moments every time I feel that in a meeting. I put it in the chat. If it works for you, do that, because there are those moments and I write them down. So excellently said, Aarthi. Oh no, who else needs to go? So Shalini has Arbaz, Ramanand.
I'd say own it to win it, because their journeys are equally important and they are equally a part of my journey as well. So I have to keep leveling up while ensuring they keep breaking new records.
Okay, poet at heart. Aarthi, we'll close with you.
The last words with a vicious cycle diagram, which will say learn, unlearn, relearn. Learn, unlearn, and relearn.
Excellent. So that is a close, my friends. I hope you learned something. I hope you had fun. I hope there was some meaning in this. And here is my action. So we don't close without an action call, right? Call to action. Here is my call to action. If you are a mentee today or a mentor, the first thing you and I need to do is see if the desire that we went in with, are we really staying with that commitment? Are we really fueling that desire? Does it still hold true, or is it still providing value to us? If not, in the true sense of plan, do, check, act, right? We iterate through and say, how should I refine it? Take an honest look. Take an honest look at yourself, your relationship, whether you're a mentee or a mentor. That's your call to action. Self-reflect, be honest with yourself and say, how am I doing? What is not working? What is working? How can I amplify that? If it's not working, how can I address that? Right? Take it personally enough to take action on it, but without judgment. Be objective about it. And one of the reasons Santosh shared with me when he brought us all together, right? All of us together, was to say every district, every person, every division, every area is in need of mentors. So if you took at least an ounce of inspiration from today, if you've been in Toastmasters for X number of months, completed, 2+ levels or 3+ levels, you have within you what it takes to hold some new member's hand. So if you are excited about this, if you are inspired by what you have learned together today, raise your hand. Be that mentor. Take advantage of everyone around you. There you go. Shubayan raised his hand already. If that makes sense for you, learn from others. How is this? If today, if you have still questions, if you still say, I still have some burning questions, reach out. I'm going to put my own, you have friends within District 98 and beyond, post it on the Facebook pages, get your answers, but don't shy away from the commitment. We need mentors as much as we need mentees. We are all in this together. I am truly honored to have had this opportunity to engage with all of you. I see my friend Santosh is already here. I know he was having some challenges getting on through public transport, but I want to thank you once again for having me or choosing me to be the panel moderator today. I have had fun, and I hope you have too. Go District 98, go Toastmasters. Back to you, Santosh.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, distinguished Toastmaster Sravanthi. I think you said an ounce of inspiration, but I would say it is not an ounce, but it is a ton of inspiration today. Many thanks to Ramanand, Arbaz, Shalini, and of course the champ Rahul, Jain, and also Aarthi. Many thanks to all of you for being here. And the way the conversations went on, at one point I was like, wow, this is just going in pretty candid way. And I think the meeting that we had, okay, for the benefit of all others in the room, I think there are 38 people in the room other than me. We had a meet yesterday, day before yesterday morning, and that was morning for all the panelists and evening for Sravanthi. And Sravanthi, I think, what's the time there now, Sravanthi, now in US?
11:42 a.m.
11:42 a.m. Yeah, that
when
means
we met, it was close to midnight for me, late at night.
right.
Yeah, but that's okay.
Right. So we have been planning this across the time zones, and once again, thanks a lot. Thank you so much. Over to you, Sanat.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Santosh. And once again, many thanks to our distinguished Toastmaster Sravanthi and all the panelists, distinguished Toastmaster Ramanand, Toastmaster Rahul, and Toastmaster Shalini, Toastmaster Aarthi, and Toastmaster Arbaz. So the wonderful discussion we had, and yes, we all have learned. It was a lot of learning for all the mentors as well as the mentees. We approached this mentor-mentee relation with some very good stories, some good question answers. Yeah, let's start. Thanks to all, and let's have some pics. Let's take some photos. I request everyone to switch on their camera. You can take photo. Everyone in the audience can do.